Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? Really? You're about to see tank shoot? That's all I got? How you doing? Okay, now you start to sound more like military veterans and their families. So my name is Eric Albertson. I'm one of the lead historians for World War II Armor. We are a self-propelled, mobile World War II museum based here out of Central Florida. And we specialize in the restoration and operations of historic armored vehicles from World War II. Has anybody here before seen 80-year-old tanks and artillery shoot before? All right, couple. I guess you saw us before, right? All right. So it's going to be loud. It's going to be about 20 minutes long. I'll keep my radio up so you can hear when they're about to shoot. So if you don't have hearing protection, make sure you get some from one of the volunteers walking around. If not, God gave us natural hearing protection. All right. So before we begin, I could not start this event and doing a showcase of World War II equipment without recognizing today's historical significant date. Does anybody know what happened 83 years ago? Pearl Harbor. Pearl Harbor, we lost approximately just over 2,400 of our service members in one day when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. This is what springboarded our country into World War II until the end of the war in 1945. If it wasn't for the men and the women and also those back home working in the factories, we could have not defeated the Axis powers of Italy, Germany, and Japan. So what you're going to see here today is a small, brief example of some of the machines that the men operated in all theaters of the war. Every vehicle you see here today was built in 1943 and 1944. Is anybody here older than that? I don't think we got anybody. So we're all younger than these vehicles. So as you saw, we had a little bit of hiccups with them because, again, they are 80-some years old. We painstakingly restore them and keep them fully operational so that folks such as yourselves can experience them for years to come. Our goal is the next 100 years, so wish us luck. World War II tank parts are not easy to find. All right, so y'all ready to begin? Yeah. All right, cool. I'm going to narrate a little bit. Excuse me, I'm just coming back from a cold, so my voice is like groggy. So if I got a cough, I apologize. But we're going to do some demonstrations, and Grand Boss, kick her off. All right, so what we're going to do first is we're going to bring out each vehicle around the obstacle course. You can see how it maneuvers and operates. The tank that's going to be coming out first is a second generation Sherman medium tank, which was introduced in mid-1944. It's got a crew of 5, a driver, an assistant driver, also known as a bow gunner or BOG, a loader, a gunner, and the tank commander. It's powered by a Wright Continental Aircraft R975 engine, about 420 horsepower, and it's armed with the 76mm high velocity gun. It's got 3 machine guns, as you can see on the top, everybody's favorite, the 50 caliber machine gun. Who here's fired one before? Yeah, everybody loves the 50 cal. And also it has a 30 caliber machine gun that's mounted inside the tank next to the cannon. As you see it come around, you'll see a little, the muzzle sticking out of the turret of the tank. And then on the bottom right-hand corner of the hull is another 30 caliber machine gun. So the Sherman production came in, they started producing the Sherman tanks in 1942. They already started designing it in the 1930s before we got into war, but due to budget restraints and cuts, they didn't have the money and also the capability at the factories to produce it. During 1942 to 1945, the U.S. auto industry built approximately 50,000 Sherman tanks across 10 different variants because they were continuously upgrading them throughout the war. Not only did the U.S. military operate them, But we provided the Sherman tanks to our allies, the British, the Canadians, the Soviet Union, and all our allies and the French to operate. And the Sherman saw service pretty much at every theater of World War II. So that was loud driving by, right? If you didn't hear me, I'm sorry. But it's funny, especially if those have worked around heavy armored machines. While it's loud when you're right next to it, when you're actually in the forest or about 100 yards away, it's actually very quiet. That's a lot of times why armor is known as the Whispering Death. But when you're close up, like you just saw, it is loud. Now, because we had to produce so many armored vehicles, tanks, tank destroyers, artillery, and also support vehicles, half-tracks, things like that. They had to produce different types and also engines. We didn't have a proper tank engine at the beginning of World War II, but we had a plethora of aircraft engines due to the boom in the 1930s of the air industry. So at the beginning of World War II, we shoved aircraft engines inside of a big steel box and called her good. It wasn't until later on in the war when they were looking for a better tank engine that Ford came out with what's called a GAA V8. It was supposed to be a V12 for aircraft, but Ford lost a contract, so they cut four ends of it off and turned it into a tank engine. And this became more of a reliable tank engine because the crew didn't have to get out behind the tank and spin the engine over after every hour of sitting. All right, coming out next is always a crowd favorite. Her name is Fred. She is a late war Sherman. If you notice when it comes around, it's got wider tracks than the first Sherman. This was because of ground pressure weight. They had an issue with the earlier Shermans where the track's only 16 inches wide with a tank weighing 30 ton, and so they would get stuck down, bogged down in the mud. So the Ordnance Department decided to extend the track up to 24 inches. Also on it, you'll notice it's got a different gun. As I noted, the Shermans, there was 10 different types of Shermans built throughout the 3 years of production. This has got a 105 millimeter howitzer, so it's an artillery cannon, versus a 76 millimeter high velocity gun. Each tank company, and a tank company was 18 tanks, would have one of these within their company. It served as a mobile, up-front, close-in artillery, and also for a good smoke screen and bunker busting. It had a phenomenal high explosive round. So just like the last Sherman, it's also got a crew of 5, and all the weapons aside from the howitzer are the same as the last one. But you'll notice that track is a little bit different. So unlike that last Sherman that had the aircraft engine, this has got the Ford engine that I was talking about. You can tell it's got a little bit different, more of a growl than the aircraft engine. So while we're parking it, I got to highlight the U.S. industry throughout the country. In World War II, if you were producing something before the war, your production turned into wartime production. So many of those 50 caliber machine guns you see up on top were actually produced by Frigidaire. You got a Frigidaire fridge, right? So every company was producing something. Another one of those 50 caliber machine guns was produced by General Motors. That's kind of a car, right? But every company was making something because we had to do the war effort for not only our troops, but our allies around the world. This vehicle coming out, it looks like a tank, it clanks like a tank, it shoots like a tank, but it's actually not. It's called a tank destroyer. So the tank destroyers during World War II had thin armor, about an inch to an inch and a half. It was to be more mobile than the tanks themselves. These vehicles were intended to be held in reserve, and when the Axis forces would attack with an armored force, they'd be called forward. If you notice, they come around, you can see the crew up on top of the turret. There is no roof. The turret is fully exposed, and the crew is exposed to the elements. This was done to cut down weight. The gun that's on the tank destroyer, the M36, is a 90mm anti-aircraft gun. This vehicle here did not enter the war until the fall of 1944. But like the Germans who shoved an 88 anti-aircraft gun into their tanks, we did the same thing with a 90mm. Interesting fact about the M36 Jackson tank destroyer was up until Desert Storm. Do we have any Desert Storm veterans in here? All right, who? All right, up until Desert Storm, the M36 Jackson had the record for the longest tank kill in the U.S. military. And during the Battle of the Bulge in December of 1944, a Jackson crew was teaching a brand new second lieutenant how to operate the gunner station. I'm going to hold my lieutenant jokes, all right? So they spotted a German Panther medium tank approximately 2.5 miles away. They didn't know if it was crewed or not, but they decided to teach the young lieutenant how to bracket his shots. It's where you shoot once, see where you're at, you adjust until you get on target. The crew hit the Panther after 3 shots, and then they pumped 3 more rounds into it, and the Panther tank burst into flames. When they actually calculated the distance, 2.61 miles away. Now, I gotta note, the optics on that vehicle are only 3 power, right? And there's no technology, so it's all Kentucky windage. That record wasn't beat until by the British Army during Desert Storm, which started Iraqi tankers around 2.9 miles away, but with modern technology. All right, so this next vehicle coming out is artillery. Do we have any artillery guys in here, or gals? All right, we got a couple red legs. All right, this vehicle here was the M7B1 howitzer motor carriage Priest, nicknamed by the British by the pulpit-like structure where the 50 cal gunner is. This was the United States Army's first self-propelled artillery piece. They needed something to keep up with the armored forces versus tow-behind artillery. So what they did is they took a 105mm howitzer, chopped off the trail legs, and welded it into this vehicle, which was based on the early war M3 medium tank. So unlike the tanks that have a crew of 5, the artillery gun crew would have approximately about a crew of 8. They would also be towing a trailer behind it with additional ammunition. As you can see, the pugs, the lower part of the track, the road wheels, look very similar to the Sherman tanks. This was ergonomics. Everything had to be very similar to replace because we had to send all of our equipment across 2 oceans in different vehicles. So the same parts to use on a Sherman tank or another vehicle can be used on this vehicle. It's also got the same Ford engine like the other M4A3 105 Sherman that came out earlier named Fred. Now, while this was an artillery vehicle, no plane survives first contact, am I right? So there were many times during World War II, especially during the Battle of the Bulge, where artillery crews had to switch from shooting their howitzers in indirect fire mode, and they had to level their guns to fight off German armored vehicles. Among the most famous instances during the defense of Bastogne or the Battle of the Bulge. There was one, while we're backing up, there was one priest crew who had no armor, TD, or infantry in their sector on the west side of Bastogne, northwest side of Bastogne, and they had 2 priests, and all of a sudden German tanks came out of the wood line, and they took out both of them with the 105 howitzer. As artillery guy, that's pretty scary because you have no armor. It's about half an inch of steel on that vehicle. All right, so now we brought each vehicle out. Now it's going to get loud. All right, so as you can see, the crews are now making the weapons hot. That means they're loading the main guns, the cannons, and all the fun boom stuff. So I'm going to try my best to work with my colleague right there, who's our ground boss, and let you know when they're about to shoot. I'll keep my radio on so you can hear it, so hopefully the crews stay PG. They've been warned. Always waiting on one. So what we're going to do, if you heard that, is we're going to pull one vehicle out at a time so you can see each vehicle shoot individually. And then after that, we're going to just be all online and go boom. Alright, so once the artillery crew and the priest is ready to roll, they're going to pull forward and demo the 105mm howitzer first. Alright, so the Kohen, the howitzer, the priest, is about to pull out once the driver wakes up from a nap. Alright, when you see the gun commander wave his hand and yell fire, that's when it's going to go. Alright, never mind, 50 cal first. My bad, sorry. I don't know, they hit their target over there. Alright, so while they're getting ready for the next vehicle, I'm going to warn you, just in case that we are known at this event in the past to make car alarms go off. So if you're like parked anywhere around here after this, you might want to check your vehicle, just a forewarning. Alright, so next coming out is the M4A1 Sherman with the 76mm gun. Ruh-roh. Yeah, right? He's fired. Alright, so it looks like his 50 cal's out of action. Hopefully he fixes it. Because every tank commander loves the Ma Deuce. I think everybody loves the Mongoose. All right, next coming out is Fred, the M4A3 105mm howitzer Sherman. He did headspace and timing. All right, so that 50 caliber machine gun that you guys see shooting them on top of the vehicle, that came out in 1918, and we still use it today. All right, they beat me to that. That was the M36 Jacks with the 90mm gun. All right, our Hellcat on the phone. Get some. So the one that just fired, she's being finicky today. So that is an M18 Hellcat tank destroyer. That is the fastest armored vehicle in the U.S. military history. It was built by Buick. And from the ground up, it was not modified like based off the Sherman tank. It was its own design by Buick. And it was not introduced until late 43 and really mid 44. That vehicle weighs about 18 ton and it's got a 450 power aircraft engine. That vehicle could go 60 miles an hour combat speed. Buick did a test on their racetrack in Flint, Michigan, and they clocked the Hellcat at 74 miles an hour. Now, if you've ever ridden on a tracked vehicle, going that fast is scary as, I'm going to keep it PG, scary as heck. But it was the highest killing vehicle, our U.S. Armored vehicle during World War II, despite its late entry into the war. She was crucial during the fall campaign in the European Theater of Operations, up and really to the end of the war. All right, so now the tanks are going to stay in line and they're going to start doing some more shooting. All right, should we do that some more? Okay. All right, so they're going to reload. So we don't do we're not in combat here, right? This is a show. So an average time speed for a loader on the vehicles are about 5 to 7 seconds to reload the main gun. It really depended on the type of vehicle and where the ammunition was stowed. And apparently we got aviation detachment here today. New target. That was not around during World War II. I'm just going to say that, all right? All right, so what they're going to do now, if I listen, which I normally don't listen, is they're going to fire one vehicle down the line at a time. So it's going to be simultaneously fire with the cannons and the main guns. And the 50 cal, I guess. Should listen more. All right, should we keep going? My kind of people. All right, so now we're going to shoot all the main gun and howitzers at the same time for a simul fire. I listened that time. continue? All right. You know, we don't want to keep shooting unless you don't want us to. Yes. Man, that's like close range. Alright, as a caveat, no, we are not shooting live. It's like Hollywood in real life. Alright, we'll keep going. So, these vehicles can hold a lot of ammunition. So depending on the size of the main gun or the howitzer, really dependent on the space in the vehicle. On average, the Sherman tanks can hold between 66 and 90 rounds of main gun ammunition. That's a lot of, boom. That's not including the amount of ammunition for the machine guns. They can hold about 3,000 to 5,000 50 caliber machine gun rounds and about 12,000 30 caliber machine gun rounds. The M18 Hellcat on the far end, because it's very small, it's really no taller than the hull of the Sherman tanks, can only carry a certain amount of ammunition, a lot less. Alright, so what we're going to do is called Murder Incorporated. So all tanks on the command, they're going to go black on ammunition, they're going to shoot everything. So it's going to be loud for the next couple minutes. everything to shoot, I promise. Maybe not. Oh, they found one. All right, starting to sound like they're black on ammo for almost black. So what that means, black on ammo means you're out. All right, so we did not shoot the full complement of what these vehicles can carry. So they only shot about 18, 20 rounds today. So imagine that, I don't know, 3-4 times more. And the amount of brass that they got to clean up afterwards. Not this guy. So what we're going to do now, so that concludes the firing demonstration, but we're going to be here till like 3, 4 o'clock whenever they shut the gates to set the fireworks tonight. But it's going to take us about the next 15-ish minutes to get the vehicles back in line. You're more than welcome to hang around, visit the crews, ask questions about the tanks and the artillery pieces, the tank destroyers, and learn more about them. And we have a lot of displays between the living history displays over here, the military vehicles, and most importantly, the Vietnam Memorial Wall and the 9/11 Memorial. But while we start to move back, I'll keep on rambling, because that's what apparently I do best, they tell me. Oh yeah, give these guys a round of applause. They're gonna have fun while I talk, so whatever. But no, seriously, but thank you all for coming today. Most importantly, thank you.